Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going through the 20 players that have been nominated for the Ballon d'Or award here on She Scores Bangers. If you don't know, the Ballon d'Or is pretty much the most prestigious individual award a professional footballer could win. 2018 was the year that the Women's Ballon d'Or award was introduced. Beforehand, it didn't exist for the women's game, so a few decades late, but we're here, it's still going on, so that's good. Ada Hegerberg was the first winner of that award, followed by Megan Rapinoe after the World Cup. 2020, obviously there was no Ballon d'Or for either female or male because of COVID, but it made a return last year, and Alexa Putellas won her first Ballon d'Or as well, which means the last 3 awards have been given to 3 different individuals. Unlike the men who usually nominate 30 players for the women's Ballon d'Or, it's a short list of 20 players. Why? I don't know. I wish I can rationalize it. I've been thinking about it for the last few days. I don't really know the answer. When you have an award, a very prestigious award like the Ballon d'Or, and the core principle of it, literally the foundation of it, is flawed in the sense that it only includes 20 players, the end result is also going to be flawed, and it's probably going to attract a ton of criticism, and that's exactly what has happened the last few years, specifically this year. The criteria and what kind of seasons they're looking at, which competitions they're really focused on, is also a little bit vague. Regardless, when you cut it down to 20 players, you're going to exclude a lot of players that should have made it in, and you also put yourself in a position where you include players that probably did not deserve to make it on the list. Before we get going through the 20 players, 2 players that somehow apparently did not make it on the list were Kiera Walsh and Carolina Krem-Hansen. How? Your guess is probably as good as mine for this one. Looking at our first 5 nominees, we have Oshoala from Barcelona and Nigeria, Katoto from France and PSG, MILLIE Bright from Chelsea in England, Rodman from Washington Spirit and the US, as well as Ada Hegerberg from Lyon and Norway. Oshoala just recently won the African Player of the Year award, and so it kind of makes sense. That was also her 5th time winning that award, which is the most any African woman has been able to get that award. She also had a very high goal contribution for Barcelona, so it's no surprise to see her on the list. I'm actually very glad to see players like that on the list. Katoto, I don't know if I should mention much. She has been absolutely outstanding for PSG. People forget she's only 23. That's scary. She unfortunately was robbed from having a good showing in the Euros because of her ACL injury. MILLIE Bright, what an absolute rock to have in the back. I think definitely one of the best defenders in the game right now. The improvements that she has shown in the last 2 to 3 years with Chelsea and now in England, I think she played an incredible role with England's winning the Euros. How can you not include her? So I'm very happy to see MILLIE Bright also on the list. Ada Hegerberg, what a return she had to the world of football. She was out for almost 2 years with an ACL injury. Came back in pretty much Ada Hegerberg fashion, won the Champions League, won the league and a few domestic cups with Lyon, and so it's Ada Hegerberg. How can you not include her on this one? Now, there was oddly some people that were not too happy to see her here, which you could make an argument for that, and that's because she had a poor showing with Norway in the Euros. And what I say to that is, which Norwegian player had a good showing in the Euros? She was not necessarily in a position where she fumbled the bag many times or like she put her team down. I think it was just the team as a whole didn't have a good showing, and so I don't really see the argument that, oh, she shouldn't be nominated because her national football didn't turn up too well this year. She was such an important role in every stage of Lyon winning that Champions League, and so not to include her is just very, very bizarre to me. Now, where a lot of the criticism has been surrounded is around Trinity Rodman. She's the youngest nominee on the list at only 20 years old. She's also one out of the 2 NWSL players featured in the list. Now, this Ballon d'Or is announced to be the Ballon d'Or 21/22, and so when I did my research onto what criteria they were really focused on, how I understood it specifically from an NWSL aspect, it very much looked at the second half of last season and the first half of this season, which is currently going on. My biggest issue here for me is Rodman has not gotten any international minutes, and that's a huge issue. Obviously, you can't blame her for that one. You'd have to look at Vlatko and his decisions. But when a player literally has gone basically nothing when it comes to international minutes, it's so hard to just value them based on their club football. She won the Rookie of the Award last year. She also won the championship. She was a huge part of why Washington Spirit won the championship. After that very bright last season, you had some of the few international breaks. You also had the CONCACAF. Neither of which she had any minutes, and so neither of which she had performances, and so neither of which she had goals or really played a big role in whatever game she was involved in. And so internationally, we really didn't get to see much. And then this season kicked off again, she has not been doing very well. The Washington Spirit in general has not been doing very well. When I look at a player like Trinity Rodman in this situation, for me, it's definitely output versus potential. She's super exciting because she's so young and she's so good at what she does. She's super talented. She's good. No one's denying she's not a good player, but is she one of the best 20 players right now? No, I don't think so. And this is what I mean. Obviously, when they're putting nominations, they want to include players from some of the major leagues that are going on right now. NWSL is one that you certainly need to look at, and you really can't miss it out. And I assume there's a bit of pressure on the federation to include players from there, but when you're including players like Trinity Rodman because she has so much hype, obviously her name, Rodman, kind of forces them to put her in a position where she doesn't necessarily deserve to be there. And her position very much could have been Kiera Walsh, or if you're sticking with the NWSL, I feel like Sophia Smith had a much better year than she did. Don't get me wrong, I very much rate Rodman. I think she's super exciting, but I don't know if I've ever seen a player not get any international minutes and have this much praise and literally be rated one of the best 20 players in the world. Like, that is such a big title. Moving on, we have Alex Popp for Germany and Wolfsburg, Aitana Bonmati for Spain and Barcelona, Wendie Renard for France and Lyon, Alex Morgan from the San Diego Wave and the USA, and Beth Mead from England and Arsenal. Alex Popp getting nominated for the first time for this award. She was on fire last season with Wolfsburg. She had such a good run in the Champions League. It was a very important role in how Wolfsburg beat Barcelona in the semifinals. And then I don't know if I have to speak much about her Euro. She was tied with Beth Mead for that golden boot. Such a shame she missed on the final, but such a quality player to have, and I think she's going to be up and running. She's going to surprise some people with how many votes she gets, and I'm kind of excited to see where she ends up ranking on this one. Aitana Bonmati, who does not love to see her? So good. At only 24 years old, I think we're going to be seeing her on this nomination list for a few years consecutively now. Renard, the Lyon captain who led her team to the Champions League victory. She's absolutely class at what she does, and I don't think there's much to say about why she ended up on the list for this one. Alex Morgan, the second NWSL player and also the oldest on the list. Morgan did win the golden ball at the CONCACAF, and I think she's having a really good season right now with the San Diego Wave. For an expansion team that was built around her, I think she's handled it super well. She has showed up for the big games when the team needed her to show up. She did score that winning penalty for the US against Canada to win that CONCACAF competition. And looking at how positive her international performances have been, I think it does make sense that she has landed herself in this position. And then Beth Mead, I think they did her so dirty in this picture. Somebody needs to go in and change it. Arsenal player of the season, the most goal involvement, also player of the tournament for the Euros, won the golden boot. None of these goals were penalty kicks. Is Arsenal not making it so far into the Champions League and being 1 point off from winning the league gonna affect how this plays out? I hope not, because I would actually really love to see her finish at least in the top 3 for this one. But again, with how vague the criteria is, I think we're just gonna have to wait and see for when the results come out. But regardless, get her a new picture. Beth Mead deserves a little better than this. Moving on to our next 5 is Christine Endler from Lyon in Chile. We have Lena Urbato for Germany and Wolfsburg, DIANI for PSG of France, Macario for the United States and Lyon, as well as Alexia Putellas for Spain and Barcelona. Endler, again, I feel like all these Lyon players were so crucial to winning the Champions League, otherwise they probably would have not won it. She's so good. I think she made such good saves throughout the tournament that for a goalkeeper, how can you not include her on this one? Lena Oberdorf, I'm so glad at least one of the defensive midfielders that have been so impressive got some justice and made it on the list. She won the Young Player Award at the Euros, showed so much talent and so much intelligence and IQ throughout the Euros with Germany to really get them to that final. DIANI, again, there's really nothing bad you can say about her. She was so good for France throughout the Euros to really get them to where they were able to get. Macario, also another player who had her ACL injury and missed out on the CONCACAF competition. I fully believe if she was healthy, she probably would have challenged Alex Morgan for that golden boot. So made history by being the first American to score in a Champions League final. The winger is making history. She's building her career so well. At only 22, it's so good to see her on the list. Alexia Putellas, you could say the reigning Ballon d'Or winner. Again, unfortunately, she did miss out on Spain and the Euros because of her ACL injury. I don't think I need to expand on her. Everybody's seen how good she is with Barcelona. Everybody's seen how crucial she has been to every kind of success Barcelona has had last year. It's Alexia Putellas. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Moving on to our last 5 nominees, we have Salma Basha for France and Lyon, Rolfo for Sweden and Barcelona, Vivianne Miedema for Arsenal and the Netherlands, Lucy Bronze for England and Manchester City, and then lastly Sam Kerr for Australia and Chelsea. Salma Basha, who was very much the dark horse and had probably the best game of her career against Barcelona in the Champions League final. She had a ton of assists during that competition. She also had a very good showing throughout Lyon's regular season. In my humble opinion, one of the best players in her position right now, and her being ranked in the top 20 players in the world is fair. Rolfo, such a dynamite, versatile player. I think people forget that a lot of times she doesn't maybe play in her natural position, but whatever kind of position she's putting in, either if she's slightly behind in the pitch or up forward, she does so good. Moves the ball so well, possesses the ball so well. Had a few up and downs with Sweden during the Euros, but I think even through that she's been so good in the World Cup qualifications for Sweden, and so a lot of these international games before the Euros she was very good. Sweden is sitting number 1 in their qualification group right now, and so she has been a very prominent role in getting them there. Vivianne Miedema had quite a transitional season, you could say, moving and dropping a little bit more into the midfield, but even with that, just showed how game-changing she could be for Arsenal. If she was put in the 9th position, she was banging goals. If she was put in that 10th position, she was providing a ton of assists. Her work rate is honestly to be admired. I love watching her play. She's so important to what Arsenal is trying to do and the project that they're trying to have and build. She's one of the WSL GOATs. I think it would be really odd not to see her on the list. Is she one of the best 20 players in the world right now? Boldly, I'm going to say yes. Lucy Bronze. Now, I think this is also another odd one because she didn't start this season with Manchester City. She was out with a knee injury. When she came back, I don't think she had a very good season. I would say she actually had quite kind of a poor season. It was good for England in the Euros, but I wouldn't say exceptional. So I also kind of find it a little bit odd she made it on this one. If the Federation was really wanting to put an English player, again, how do you miss Kiera Walsh? I don't know. If you were to put Kiera Walsh out of that squad, nobody in the entire roster is able to do what Kiera Walsh is able to do. And I'm going to propose the same question. Let's say Lucy Bronze was not on the England squad for this time, or she didn't play as many minutes. Was there backups in her position? Yes. Were there players who were going to do the exact same as Lucy Bronze? Probably not to that level, but I don't think they would have faced so many more issues or so many more troubling situations. And so again, I find this so weird where an English player who also plays for Manchester City did not have a very good club performance, didn't necessarily have a wow Euros performance, made it on top of Kiera Walsh. How Carolina Graham-Hansen has been robbed 2nd year in a row, I don't know. In my eyes, she has really been one of those like top 3 players for why Barcelona has had their huge rise in success the last few years, and to her not be included the last 2 years in a row is simply criminal. It just doesn't make sense. You could really put her in that top 20 player in the world, and so her to be snobbed again, not good. Lastly, we have Sam Kerr, who was the WSL Golden Boot winner. Huge reason why Chelsea was able to win that league and the FA Cup last season. There hasn't been a season that she hasn't performed to that Sam Kerr level. She came very close last Ballon d'Or to winning and getting that one, specifically because Chelsea made it to the Champions League final. This year around, they got knocked out in the group stages, and Australia did not have a good showing in the Asian Cup, both of which are going to affect how she does in this one. Another player that you could definitely make an argument should have made it on the list is Leah Williamson. She obviously captained England for the first time to win the Euros. It probably did come down between her and Millie Bright, and I think Millie Bright really just showed how good she was in that defense line. I think nobody was really able to get past her. She caused Germany a fair amount of troubles in the air. She also won the league with Chelsea, where Leah did have a little bit of a hamstring injury and was out with Arsenal during the kind of the mid-season, during the New Year's. Let me know your thoughts on this preview and the quick run through of the players that have been nominated. Which players do you think should have not made it on the list? Which players do you think should have definitely made it on the list but surprisingly didn't? We're definitely going to be making a video when the winner is announced and talk a little bit more about that. For now, if you want to stay updated and continue enjoying the beautiful game, make sure you subscribe to us here on YouTube and follow us on Twitter. I will see you later.